Hey, how's it going? It's John Suntress, and welcome to Word Balloon. You found us. That's excellent. If this is your first time, please consider subscribing to us via iTunes or Stitcher or certainly Last FM and all the various places you can find podcasts. Word Balloon is invariably there. Subscribe. Please let me know what you think of the show. Write ratings over at Apple's podcast platform and give me a review. You can say nice things, you can say lousy things. You suck, John, and let me tell you why. Happy to hear your feedback either way. But do me a favor and like me where you can and leave comments. And also, as always, email me, john@wordballoon.com. I'm interested in your feedback. I'm interested in what you're thinking about the content I put here. Also, I have a YouTube channel under Word Balloon. Would you please consider subscribing there? I've got about 400 plus subscribers currently. I'd like to get to at least 1,000 and start generating more video content. So go to YouTube and click on the Word Balloon channel and please subscribe. Terrificon is back. The Terrific Comic-Con, devoted to, what else? Comic books and their creators, returns to Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Connecticut. The 3-day event features the largest gathering of comic book writers and artists. The largest of its kind in New England is on August 9th through the 11th. Terrificon producer Mitch Halleck promises this year's event will be the best con he's ever produced, with today's top talent like Tom King, Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, Clay Mann, Liam Sharp, Derek Robertson, plus legendary creators Jim Steranko, Chris Claremont, Jim Starlin, Jerry Ordway, and in his final con appearance, the one and only George Perez. Terrificon will be celebrating Batman's anniversary, as well as featuring actors from the Bat films, Billy D. Williams, Robert Wool, and Val Kilmer. Plus, Doctor Who's John Barrowman, The Flash's John Wesley Shipp, the voice cast reunion of Animaniacs, and Pinky and the Brain, and lots more. See for yourself why Terrificon is summer's hottest Comic-Con, this August 9th through the 11th, only at Mohegan Sun. For more information and guest list, visit Terrificon.com. It's terrific! Hey everybody, welcome to July and welcome to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, good double feature for you today. We're going to start off by talking to Christopher Sebela. Chris is an excellent writer. I've been a fan from his breakthrough comic High Crimes, which was a tremendous digital comic first that came out from the Monkey Brain imprint. That was Allison Baker and Chris Robertson's imprint. That, had so many fresh ideas when digital comics were brand new. I remember their big presentation at San Diego. And Chris and Ibrahim Mustafa, another friend of Word Balloon, put together High Crimes, a great mountaineering book that also involved a big murder. And Chris is here not only to talk about that, but his new Aftershock book, Trust Fall. He has a book from the brand new comic Volt, and that's called Test. And his new ongoing book from Image called Crowded, plus other books like Shanghai Red. Lots of interesting stories, and Chris has had a very fun writing career, and we start at the beginning and bring us up to date. In fact, right now, Crowded and Test debut this week, and also Trust Fall from Aftershock debuted last week. So lots to talk about with Chris Sebela on part 1 of Word Balloon. Then, can't believe I'm saying this, but back in the 70s, as I'm sure you know, Marvel had a couple television shows going, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk. They tried a few other concepts as well that only made it to TV movies. There was Doctor Strange, but they managed to make not one but 2 Captain America movies with Reb Brown. Now, I'll tell you, man, this movie sometimes, actually both movies, get a little bit of 70s grief because of the time period and the limited special effects. But I gotta tell you, from a pure acting standpoint, Reb Brown nailed it. He was a great Steve Rogers. You go back to those original Captain America origin stories, and you see Steve Rogers grow into the giant specimen. Well, obviously, Reb starts off as a pretty big 6'3", 230-plus pound specimen. I mean, he's a big, giant dude. But he looked like Steve Rogers. I mean, they kind of got the costume wrong in the first movie. Thank God. The success of the movie, how about that? They get the costume wrong, and yet it's good enough of a movie that they immediately decide to come up with a second film, and they even recut the ending of the first film to set things right. And there's that wonderful shot at the end of the first movie where he drives out on his motorcycle, and he's in that appropriate Captain America costume. The conceit of the movie was that Steve's dad was the original 1940s superhero, Captain America, and codename Secret Agent Captain America. And they let him use his father's old colors and uniform, the style of his uniform, to modernize things. Then it's appropriate. It looks like a Marvel comic. And again, Reb was perfect. Two fantastic made-for-TV 70s movies. If you can handle the 70s, I think you'll enjoy this. Plus, he made a lot of other great movies as well. The Girl Most Likely, a great movie with Stockard Channing, a very funny made-for-TV comedy film. And then he did feature films like Fast Break, a very funny 70s basketball film with Gabe Kaplan from Welcome Back, Kotter. And he made other wonderful movies in the 80s like Uncommon Valor with Gene Hackman, a tremendous prisoner of war movie where they get mercenaries back to rescue POWs. Pretty cool. People like, again, Gene Hackman and Randall Tex Cobb. Really interesting cast. Reb was also critically acclaimed for his role in Death of a Soldier, a wonderful movie that was made with James Colburn. We talk about that. He made movies with Lou Ferrigno. And then he made a great, there's no other way to describe it. It's a low-budget sci-fi movie, a little cheesy, but a lot of fun, called Space Mutiny, that had Cameron Mitchell and John Philip Law. If you know your great Mystery Science Theater 3000 movies, you'll recognize those names. John Philip Law, of course, Diabolique, the wonderful Italian supervillain that was in the comics. And in this movie, Space Mutiny, he's the bad guy. And Reb is the big, shining superhero, along with his wife in the film as well. It's great, and it's very fun. I recommend it, honestly. I'm shrugging right now, because the graphics are so wonderfully 80s, 8-bit looking, and, It's a really funny movie. I can't help but laugh when I think about that movie in particular. Reb Brown, really looking forward to sharing this conversation with you on today's Word Balloon. All brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your wonderful support via Patreon. We're at the start of July, and thank you for your June support via Patreon. You're all executive producers of Word Balloon, helping me out and making this show possible. Word Balloon is free. It'll always be free, but if you want to help out the cause, I ask you to consider subscribing to Patreon, to Word Balloon. You can go to patreon.com/wordballoon or go to wordballoon.com and click on the Patreon ad. A lot of people, even at the end of the month, even boosted their support for Word Balloon, and I thank you very much, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics, the industry's fastest-growing independent publishing company. Now, I mention this because it occurred to me as I released a couple episodes at the end of June. We're all bummed that Vertigo is going away. And, obviously the style of Vertigo will continue at DC Comics. But in its wake, a lot of publishers have stepped up and given you the same kind of product that you'd expect from Vertigo. And I got to say, Aftershock is certainly one of them. Books like Dark Red from Tim Seeley easily could have been a Vertigo book. Books like The Brothers Dracul and Dark Ark from Cullen Bunn easily could have been Vertigo. Animosity from Marguerite Bennett. A Walk Through Hell from Garth Ennis. Recognize the names? They're all names that, again, sound like Vertigo kind of creators. Well, they're Aftershock creators. And I'll tell you, they've been running a lot of great books that stretch through different genres and will present interesting stories, shocking stories, and stories with consequences. Things like Joe Pruitt's horror anthology, Shock. Cullen Bunn has a new book coming out soon, Knights Temporal. And, of course, Chris Sebela's Trustfall just started last month. Also, you'll find Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete, to name just a few of the books on Aftershock's docket. Now, in the days ahead, we'll have more talks with Aftershock creators. In fact, today, we're talking to Chris Sebela. But you don't have to wait. Go to their website and find out their lineup. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Aftershock creators like Chris Sebela, who we're about to talk to now. I really enjoyed this conversation. And, something happened this night. I actually interviewed Chris and Reb the same night. And there was a little bit of clipping at the beginning of the interviews, and actually, unfortunately, on Reb at the end of the interview. But, the meat of it's there, and I want you to enjoy both conversations. It's almost like the recording was skipping. So weird. Digital nonsense. What can I say? But the problem has since been fixed. I've recorded a few Word Balloon episodes since, and there's no problem since. So, but we're going to cut right to... you'll miss the welcoming of Chris to Word Balloon, and we cut right to his first book that really, made me notice him, and that was High Crimes, his wonderful collaboration with Ibrahim Mustafa from Monkey Brain Comics with Allison Baker and Chris Robertson's imprint. So let's join us in mid-conversation, me and Chris Sebela talking about his wonderful writing now on Word Balloon. High Crimes, a great book you did with Ibrahim Mustafa and for Monkey Brain back in the day. Chris Robertson and Allison's great imprint, and yeah, that's the first I had heard of you, and I'm like, wow, this is a great idea, a hell of a concept, combining mountaineering with murder.
Thanks. Yeah, no, that's the book that's really responsible for me doing anything after that. That was kind of my Hail Mary passing comics to see if I actually had what it took.
That's cool. Well, you obviously you landed. Nice, you stuck the landing. Nice going, man.
Yeah, no,
that's good. Absolutely. So, I mean, I don't even know what is the status of High Crimes. Can people get it digitally or get the physical trade still?
Yeah, we just re-released it actually through Image.
Cool.
Back in February. So yeah, you can pick it up pretty much at any comic shop or bookstore.
That's outstanding. That's great, man. No, it's a tremendous book. It put you and Ibrahim on my radar right away, and I really really enjoyed it. But we're also here now to talk about your new Aftershock book, Trust Fall. That just was released, and am I right? Yeah, end of the month, right? End of June. It came out last week.
Yeah.
Very cool. You and Chris Visions, a crime book, but some powers involved. Well, yeah. Give us the elevator pitch on Trust Fall.
Okay. Yeah. Trust Fall is basically it's a book about a woman who can teleport things, but not herself, and she's kind of the only person in the world who can do it, and she works for her family, who is an actual crime family, so they use her to help them go out and steal giant things. But because she can't teleport herself, she has to rely on them to get her out of trouble and get her back home safe. So our book is basically about what happens when all that falls apart and she starts to figure out that her life isn't exactly what she thought it was.
That's cool. So how long for the first arc?
We're just it's 5 issues.
Or is it an ongoing? Okay.
It could go on. I always like to have an ending because comics is comics. So I don't like to take anything for granted. So 5 issues, we have a pretty solid arc. And if there's room to do more, there's more we can do. But I plan on making it nice and a one singular story for anybody who wants to pick up the trade after the fact.
Chris Visions is the artist. How did you guys get together?
Chris and I we worked on a book at Boom called Dead Letters, which was the first. That was the first creator-owned book I sold to a publisher, to a physical publisher. So they teamed us up, and Chris and I got along right away. We did 12 issues of that book, and then. I always wanted to work with him again, but, we went off and did separate things, and then I'd been talking to him about a couple things, and when Trust Fall came together, I asked him about it, and he was super into it, and it felt right. Dead Letters was another crime book that we did, so it feels like we're coming back to familiar ground, but it's sort of completely different at the same time.
Excellent, man. And how did you hook up with Aftershock?
Somebody, introductions, they had, I think, heard of me, and a buddy of mine put us in touch, and I sent them I think I sent them a couple pitches, but I know one of the ones was Cold War, which was the first book I did with them, and they really responded to that one, and they teamed me up with Hayden Sherman, who is an amazing artist, and just let us do this super crazy book that sort of didn't make any sense. But they let us sit down together and kind of figure it out as we went.
Now, I'm an idiot. I should have asked to get a copy of Cold War. Tell me about Cold War.
So it's all about cryonics, where people freeze themselves to be revived in the future. So our story is about a bunch of people who get themselves frozen, but they're woken up 500 years in the future, they're given new bodies, and then they're handed a uniform and a gun and told, like, we're at war and you have to fight if you want to stay here. So it becomes about, like, this small group of, like, 6 characters within this giant conflict and sort of what led them to being frozen and sort of how their story from the past is continuing here 500 years in the future. So it's like a character study book, but it's also like a giant, crazy future war book.
Excellent, man. A little Free Jack in there, if I remember.
Yeah.
I love Free Jack. I know it's a small group of us, but I actually did like Free Jack. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That sounds great. That's excellent. I mean, honestly, that's one of the things I appreciate about you is, I mean, I think, you do a lot of genre stuff. And, one I wanted to check out was Shanghai Red, an Image book, correct?
Yeah.
That was an Image book? Tell us about Shanghai Red.
So that's like it's an historical book. It takes place in the 1890s, and it takes place in Portland, Oregon, where I live.
Cool.
And it's basically about Shanghaiing, which was, the trade where people would get people drunk or knock them out or trick them, and they'd wake up on a boat. Their names would be forged on a contract, and they would be forced to work on this boat for the next 2 to 3 years. And then at the end of their contract, they were made an offer, which was like, you could stay on the boat and we'll pay you, or we'll drop you at our next port, which is, possibly somewhere in China, and good luck getting home. So Portland was like one of the big capitals of Shanghaiing back in the day. It was like the biggest reputation this town had was like, if you go to Portland, watch yourself because you'll wake up on a boat. So we have this tourist attraction called the Shanghai Tunnels, which are these series of tunnels that were built under downtown that lead from the shore of the Willamette River under downtown. And the story goes is that people were kidnapped from the bars above, and there are trap doors in the floors. People would get drunk, drop through, and they wake up on a boat and get imprisoned. And I went to that exhibit, and when I walked out, I had the opening, which was about this woman who, has been on a boat for the last 2 years and gets made the offer of like, hey, you can come work for us or we'll drop you off. And she just like the title says, she sees red and basically kills all the sailors on the boat and turns it around and coming back to Portland to find everybody responsible for putting her on that boat.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. I'm here's an old TV show, although it was Seattle, but I kind of consider it the same area and stuff. Here Come the Brides, all about kind of 19th century Seattle and everything, and kind of a dramatic Seven Brides for Seven Brothers without the music, basically.
Right.
But yeah, I enjoyed that. Well, are you a native Portlandier, or are you a transplant?
Transplant. I grew up in Chicago.
Hey, where'd you grow up, man? I didn't know you were a Chicago guy.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I grew up 2 blocks from Wrigley Field.
That's fantastic. I live 3 miles from Wrigley Field. I'm right by Lane Tech High School.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I went to Loyola Academy out in Wilmette.
Sure. How about Jesus, Chris? I was born in '64. I know I'm older than you, but I lived about a block south from Eden's Plaza on the other side of the Lake Avenue Bridge there.
Okay.
Or the bridge over the expressway. And no, I had a lot of friends who went to Loyola. And that's really funny. And Myers Tavern over there, the bar that was really close to Loyola. My dad tried very hard to buy that place. He was a restaurateur and bar owner. And the guy just wouldn't sell it because we lived so close. He's like, oh my God, can you imagine if I get Myers? That was like his dream. He's like, that'd be great, man. Close up and come home in 10 minutes.
Sure.
That'd be fantastic.
That is the dream.
So that's hilarious. When did you leave Chicago?
In the year 2000.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So
that's cool, man.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time there and moved to Kansas City, Missouri. And I lived there for about 9 years, and then I moved to Portland, and that's where I've been.
That's cool, man. Well, I know a lot of the Portlandians. You're my third Portland-based guest, I think, in consecutive weeks. I had Josh Williamson on, and then Bendis, and now you.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of us out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. No, and I know you're friends with Kelly Sue, and I'm assuming Fraction as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt and I, we met in Chicago because he was going to Columbia.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it's there's, I moved out here basically because I was tired of Kansas City, and mostly tired of Midwestern summers and winters.
I hear you, man. Jesus, it's finally like the warm weather is literally finally kicking in, and thank God, just 3 days into summer. But really, that whole pre-summer period, it's like, all right, can we stay like in the 70s and 80s? No, 50s today. All right,
no, that was
typical Chicago.
It's so rough, yeah. And every year I'd be like, okay, here we go again, and it just like I'd get halfway through the summer, and I'd be like, I would rant to myself like, there has to be a better way to live. I know there are people out there who aren't like suffering every half of the year just from nature. So yeah, Portland was just like. At the time when I moved here, it was pretty price adjacent to Kansas City. And Matt and Kelly Sue had just moved out here and had offered me a room to stay in while I looked for a place. So yeah. And then it just like, I as soon as I got here, I realized like, oh, there are like dozens of comics people everywhere.
I'm aware of that. When you were in Kansas City, beyond Matt and Kelly Sue, did you know Clay Moore? Did you know Andy Parks?
Yeah, like I mean, we attended the same parties.
Sure.
Like,
that's
my
nice.
buddy Steve Sanders used to host like monthly comics people meetings, and this was before I was in comics. I was just reading comics, but I'd go to this party, and Jason Aaron and his wife would be there, and
sure.
And Andy and Clay, and yeah, it was just like it was. I was very prepared when I moved to Portland and realized like what a big scene there was here, because I was like, oh, well, I come from Kansas City is not a huge place, but we had a ton of comic people there.
So why comics? Why not novels, short stories, or something? Because again, I really think you're a great genre writer, honestly, and I think a lot of your stuff would fit on a lot of different platforms, not only comics.
Yeah, I think like comics was. I've written a lot of prose. I've written a couple novels that I'll never show anybody. And, the problem with all that stuff is there's nobody waiting on it. When you finish, then it's done. And so you can drag that out into infinity.
Sure.
With comics, you're limited, you have 20 to 22 pages an issue. And you have to, you finishing writing it is only half of it. And,
sure.
And then, once you get in with publishers, then they're putting you on deadlines, and you can't be precious anymore. Like, it was, I wrote and wrote and wrote, but I was just terrified to go through the process of like showing people and trying to find an agent. And comics felt like, okay, I can wrap my mind around. Like, I can write 22 pages and they won't suck. And then I can build on that. So really, like, yeah, once I got into comics, like I wrote more in my first, 4 years of comics than I wrote in my life up till then.
Okay. What kind of training did you do to prepare yourself to start writing comics?
I just read a lot of comics.
Good, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was I'd written a lot of prose, so like it wasn't none. I mean, so I felt like I knew how to write well, but a lot of those skills aren't transferable to comics. But yeah, no, I mean, I just dived in. Like a buddy of mine and I teamed up. My first book ever was at Image. It was the second volume of this book called Screamland. And, my buddy and I teamed up and we pitched it, and Image said yes. And then suddenly I was like, oh crap, now we have to do it. And that was like the best possible thing, was just like throwing myself into the deep end, and it was forced me to learn. And like, I hit up Fraction and asked him, and he sent me like a list of like rules and tips, but I just mostly figured it out as I went. And had plenty of artists and my co-writer to tell me like, oh, you can't do this, like you screwed this up. But that's, I think it was for the best, especially like doing a book at Image, because you have to do everything. And back then it was very bare bones. So like you took charge of promoting and everything. So
sure,
it was a good like boot camp and like, here's what making comics is like. So if you want to back out, now's the time.
Well, you've got a lot of titles in your catalog, and again, I think you have great taste in artists. David is Chris is really great as far as, or pardon me. I'll tell you okay, good. I got short eyeballs. Chris Visions is an excellent collaborator for you on Trustfall, and I think his style is very distinct. Ibrahim's as well. Mm-hmm. Now, you talked about how you hooked up with Chris. Tell me how you found Ibrahim, how you guys found each other.
It was through our mutual friend Joe Keating.
Oh, sure.
Like, Joe and I just met up. It was on my birthday, actually. Like, I just wanted to have a low-key hangout, so I didn't even tell Joe it was my birthday. And this was, I think, like, we just started hanging out, like, 6 months ago or something. So I was just like, hey, do you want to go to this place where you make your own pancakes at the table? And he was like, yes, of course I do. So we went to that, and like we talked about comics, because we were both like trying to break in, and
sure.
we had both like sold something to Monkey Brain, and I was like lamenting. I was like, I don't know where I'm ever gonna find an artist for my book. And he's like, hey, this guy Ibrahim that I share a studio space with, he's been talking about how he wants to work on a crime book, and this sort of sounds up his alley. He's like, we could go meet him like right now. So I was like, okay. So we went. Ibrahim was at his drawing table, and I basically gave him the pitch, like standing there. And he's like, yeah, that sounds cool. Can you send me the thing? And so I went home and I sent him the thing, and like a day or two later, he's like, yeah, this is really cool. I want to do this. So it was, like if I'd done one thing different, I probably never would have hooked up with Ibrahim, and then I wouldn't be talking to you right now. It's a long chain of events that, like, all because I wanted to make my own pancakes.
But that's great, man. Seriously, man, I love Ibrahim's style. I'm so happy for him, and I'm really happy that he's doing so much James Bond stuff, because I'm a huge James Bond fan.
Yeah, and I know what a nerd he is for that stuff, so it's like a dream come true.
He sent me a fantastic Goldfinger sketch that he did for I think an alternate cover or something like that, and I love it. Good Lord. But yeah, man, like I said, no, that's what drew me in. So did you pitch Monkey Graham on High Crimes without having an artist? Or did you do something else? Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, that's interesting. And then was the idea that you would find an artist, or that they would find you somebody if not?
It was a little fuzzy.
Okay.
I sort of had the idea that, like, oh, well, Chris and Allison know everybody, so if they say yes to it, clearly they know a ton of people. They could just put me in touch with somebody. But then, like, I started to get, like, really antsy, like, right after they said yes. So then I was like, well, I need to suck it up and, like, learn how to do this. Like, it's not gonna help my career if I, like, just sit back and hope somebody else can find the artist. So yeah, I think I just, like, they would have helped me, but I just got, super antsy and jumped the gun, thankfully. So.
Yeah, no kidding, man. No, seriously, that's great. Well, and I mean, it's a visual medium, and then, I mean, the story, don't get me wrong, it's a great story, but it really was that combination of interesting story and I think great art from Ibrahim. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm digging this. And really, Monkey Brain had so many interesting things. Joe had something over there. Keating had something over there as well, as I remember. Because I was at a couple of those initial Monkey. I thought he did. I remember.
He sold something to them, but I don't think it ever came out. I think. So, but yeah, I just wrote an essay all about Kinski, which is the Gabe Hardman book that came out through Monkey Brain.
Absolutely. Like, yes, indeed.
One of my favorite comics ever. So yeah, like they were doing some interesting stuff. They came along at the right time, like when people were sort of paying attention to, it was like when digital first originals, like, was kind of novel. So
absolutely,
if it had happened, 3 years later, I don't think anybody would have noticed quite the same way.
No, I understand, and it's interesting to see how things have changed since. But yeah, I know. I mean, at first it was just like, really like, all right, digital comics, yeah, but God, at first even pre-iPad, you're just like, wow, to read comics on your phone, it's so small. is that going to, I was asking creators, I'm like, especially artists, I'm like, is that going to kill the splash page? The impact that you would get from the splash page when the screen you're reading on is no bigger than a baseball card?
Right.
I mean, for real. And then, thank God, I didn't even think about that. Well, of course they're going to come up with the iPad, whatever. And then obviously it's, now it's a big change, but it's an interesting world. And I mean, as someone like yourself that has so many creator-owned things out there and everything, how do you think the environment has changed from High Crimes to where we are now?
I think it's a lot more open. Back then, High Crimes was 2013.
Yeah.
We were just, I think Ibrahim and I were just happy that somebody was going to put our stuff out. And now it's like, with the rise of like crowdfunding stuff and Patreon and stuff like that, like I think the options and even just like self-publishing on like places like Amazon and stuff is like all of it is so easily accessible now that I think it's easier than ever to get your stuff out there. I mean, the hard part now is that because everything's so accessible, it's a lot harder to get noticed. Because they're just the sheer volume of stuff, like the barriers have come down. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's like you're already competing with other mediums, and now there's just like this explosion of comics has happened in the last 10 years. That's really like expanded what the medium can be. So yeah, it's cool, and it's also kind of like I don't need more competitors. Like, it's cutthroat enough out there. Like, if I have to compete with more people, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I understand, man. I sometimes feel the same way. It's like, on the one hand, yeah, everybody jump in the pool. But on the other, it's like, yeah, maybe not jump in my area of the pool. I understand.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned crowdfunding, and I'm glad you did, because I've been following you on Twitter for several years, and I do remember a Kickstarter campaign you had, and I don't remember if you hit your goal or not. And you're going to correct me if I'm getting it wrong. Was it the Clown Motel or Hotel? What
Hotel.
Was it?
Yeah, and I hit.
So what is this place? Talk about this for people. Who don't know.
It's a motel. It's a clown themed motel in Tonopah, Nevada. And Tonopah is basically 3 miles in either direction from Reno or Vegas. So it's literally in the middle of nowhere. And it was a place I read about on the internet, and a friend of mine and I sort of got mildly obsessed with it, and then we planned a trip to go visit it. So we did that, and we spent a weekend there, and people were super interested in it. And then I went home, and then like a day or so later found myself like nostalgic for this dumpy town. Like, there's nothing going on in this town. It's just terrible. But there was something about it was so quiet and so different from my life. That I was like, I want to go there, but I want to go there like on a writing retreat. I want to spend a month there. But I was like, I don't want to pay for it. So I was like, I'll do a Kickstarter. The internet will decide. Like, and if I hit my goal, then I'll be forced to go. And if I don't, then I'm absolved of any responsibility. And I hit my goal in the first 4.5 hours.
I didn't remember. That's fantastic. All right. So did you stay in the Emmett Kelly suite? What kind of? Tell me about the Clown Motel.
I stayed in the same room all 30 days. I asked to change rooms once, and I think they were mildly offended. I think they gave me like the best room. And I was like, no, the room's not bad. I just figured if I'm here for a month, I might as well swap. And they're like, well, we kind of gave you the best one. And it was like, ugh, like I can't imagine.
It's the closest to the bathroom. I don't know what you're complaining about.
It was like the closest to the office, so I did feel slightly safer. But it was a 2-bedroom or a 2-bed suite. It was just like a dismal motel. Like the clown, they had clown figurines on every door, and the lobby was full of clown statues. And clown figurines. But otherwise, it was just like staying in a really regrettable motel for a month.
So what did you write while you were down there?
I wrote a lot of stuff. I didn't really keep track. It was a really weird month. Like there was a lot going on too. Like it would get like, I mean, it swung from either like nothing is happening and I don't know how I'm going to do 20 more days of just like complete boredom. And then it would go from like, oh God, I'm going to die here. So.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, but I got scripts done while I was there. I came up with a whole new book while I was there,
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that you'd be like, all right, that's where Shanghai Red came from or wherever, one of these books of yours.
Well, actually, there's a book I'm doing with Vault called Test that it comes out on July 3rd. And
cool.
The town in that I very much like based on Tonopah. So I am getting like some use out of it other than like it's just a thing that blew up a lot bigger than I ever expected it to. Like I thought this was just going to be a dumb thing I did, and then when it was over, nobody would ever talk about it again. But we are now 4 years out from it, and I'm still talking.
We are talking.
Yeah, like man. It's a thing that for whatever reason captured a nation's imagination.
Well, again, you're the only person I know that's been to the Clown Motel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, that's terrific. And it is those crazy places. I mean, we lived on Route 66 here in Chicago and everything. So I appreciate all those kind of weird little windy kind of places. And, again, that's... I have visions of people in hockey masks like, yeah, pardon me, I'm out of ice. I don't know if you had that problem.
No, that was like, it was exceedingly normal. Like, it would get super weird at times, but like mostly it was just like people who couldn't drive anymore and didn't want to crash on this rural 2-lane highway with no lights. They were like, well, this place is cheap. So, like, and it's like the last motel at the end of town. Like, the town is just, like, 3 miles of one long road.
All right, now, again, you'll forgive me, but being a large man, I can't imagine you get decent pizza anywhere in the vicinity of the Clown Motel.
No, somebody did buy me a pizza. It wasn't amazing, but it was also, like, it was free pizza, so...
Sure, well, sure.
Pretty good. No, I mean, like, yeah, there was nothing, they serve good breakfast. Like, there was...
Oh, that's nice.
I found a place that was, like, a greasy spoon, and I was like, okay, this is my comfort zone. Like, I'll at least have this every morning. I'll have a normal breakfast, and then as soon as I leave, then I'm, like, back into hell, so...
I'm envisioning, like, and I'm an old movie fan, Spencer Tracy in Bad Day at Black Rock. that kind of town. All right, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, it's not too far off.
Should have hidden your arm in your coat, like Tracy, and just walk around with a fedora. How you doing? I love that movie. That's amazing. So, in Portland, who are some of your comic friends? Well, Matt and Kelly Sue, certainly.
Yeah, Joe Keating, Ibrahim.
Excellent. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, Greg Rucka, cool. Jen Van Meter.
I love them. They're wonderful people. Another one that I just recently spoke to, Greg.
Yeah,
very
like,
cool.
It's, it's like one big fellowship. Like, I kind of feel like I'm friends with, and there's so many that, like, I know I'm leaving, like, 2 dozen, Jeff Parker and Steve Lieber, everybody at Helioscope, like...
I was going to ask, absolutely, and I'm friends with both of them. That's excellent.
So, yeah.
Sarah, Steve's wife, I love Sarah as well.
Yeah, there's nobody I don't like, so that's nice. At least not that I'm aware of, or I haven't met them yet, so...
Excellent, man. No, that's cool. I'm leaning very hard into probably going to Rose City this year.
Yeah, it's a great show. Like, it's nice and it's still small enough that it feels like you're not, it feels like Emerald City was, like, 8 years ago.
I'm with you. Yeah. I'm going to have to talk to Reed and see what I can do about doing some stuff. But, yeah, I figured I might take a pilgrimage and spend a few days there and do some, a lot of talking to the various acquaintances I've made that are in Portland, from Matt Wagner to Bendis to the Fractions and the Ruckas, and all the Parker as well, obviously. Paul Tobin and Colleen Coover, another great couple, absolutely.
Yeah, you get them all at their most relaxed because like nobody had to travel.
Well, and that's the thing. I really, my hope is to come a couple days before Rose City and talk to them even before the convention and really just try and make it like a Wednesday through Sunday or something like that, where I've got a couple days before the show kind of, spend some time, a little good downtime, and nobody's, pressured. Because I kind of stopped doing convention interviews.
Right.
It's just, if I'm moderating a panel, I'll run sound for that. But I just feel like there's so many of us podcasters and bloggers and other people that are trying to get, 10 minutes here or whatever. And also, I don't want to be a jerk. And, there are fans that paid to come and meet everybody and stuff. And it's like, well, I don't want to get in anybody's way,
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's Portland's a good town to bum around in before and after the con. So,
yeah, no, that's my hope. We'll see. If not this year, then hopefully next year. But certainly, those are some of my sketchy plans. So how are things going? As far as and I wanted to ask. Tell me about. Is it Trust for Volt? Test, excuse me. Tell me about Test.
Test is my weirdest book. I have trouble describing it, but it's basically it's a story about this human guinea pig who is in search of this mythical town where they're test marketing the future. I was just talking to somebody about how much trouble I have describing this book. It feels like we made a weird Euro comic.
That's good.
But yeah, it's myself and Jen Hickman is drawing it, and they did Moth and Whisper for Aftershock recently.
I was gonna say, yeah, Jen's another Aftershock creator, absolutely. That's excellent, man.
And Harry Saxon is coloring it, and Hassan Otsmain Allahu is lettering it, and he lettered Trustfall and Shanghai Red. So he's a collaborator I'm always dying to work with.
Fantastic, man. That's cool. You're my first Volt comics creator that I've spoken to.
Cool.
I know they're absolutely, man. Well, they're brand new on the scene.
Yes,
that's excellent.
No, you should. You should really talk to Adrian or Damien or both of them. I think they have a really good head on their shoulders, and they're doing things in a very sensible way. And I don't know, it's a totally different experience than I've had at any other publisher. And I'm just kind of excited to see, they're slowly unfolding things. They're not getting too far ahead of themselves, but, every move they keep making seems to be that's, might not be the book for me, but I know it's a book that, interests a lot of people. I don't know, they're doing cool, they feel when they announced that Vertigo was shuttering, I was like, well, I'd be sadder if Vault wasn't around, but Vault feels like it's doing that kind of work now.
Isn't it interesting? Yeah, I think, and I'd put Aftershock in the mix as well. That there are all these publishers now that kind of follow the Vertigo model. And as I was just telling Bendis on the last interview I did, I find it interesting that that DC's chucking away a brand that has immediate trust with the readership and just is a known name. And even as they shutter Vertigo, I'm like, no corporation gets rid of a good trademark. I'm like, I refuse to believe that they're going to let Vertigo lapse. And,
right.
I go, something is going to still say Vertigo whenever that, trademark is in danger of lapsing or whatever.
It's DC. Nothing stays dead.
Yes.
So.
Do you have interest in doing... and forgive me if you've already done some superhero work. I'm not aware of
I've done a little bit.
What have you done?
I did some stuff at DC. I co-wrote some stuff at Marvel, and then I did a Ghost Rider one-shot.
Oh, cool.
I find that stuff really cool, but I'm also, I don't know. I feel like what I'm able to do with, in terms of time and life and stuff, I'd much rather devote my time to doing the books that I own and that are all my idea that, aren't going to get retconned in a year.
I understand. Sure.
And it's there are definitely bucket list characters I would love to write, but, I'm also just I don't know. I guess I kind of came to this decision earlier this year that I was just going to focus on doing creator. It's just creator owned stuff is more satisfying to me. I get, it's a lot harder for me too, but that's, I figure how I'm going to grow and get better.
I understand. And I also think, I find it interesting, and something I've discussed a lot with creators in general, how the top of the mountain forever was getting a DC job or a Marvel job.
Yeah.
And ever since the Image generation happened, and Kirkman kind of as well, like I just re-released my 2008 interview with Kirkman right after he came out with the Manifesto, and his video saying, get into creator-owned comics, do that. Don't shoot for DC or Marvel. And I think it's interesting that so many new creators are coming into comics, finding an audience, and they're if the DC or Marvel thing happens, that's great, but that's not their main ambition. And I know several really successful creators, they've even turned down Marvel and DC jobs, and they're like, no, it's okay, I'm doing my thing.
Right. Yeah.
And the control, and like you say, the idea that your stuff will endure. I mean, even people that have succeeded at DC and Marvel, like Fraction, Remender, Bendis, and stuff like that, I love the fact that they make their mark there, but also have this great library of creator-owned stuff that they were doing well before, they got the chance to work at Marvel or DC.
Yeah, no, I just, and I think maybe it's because I know so many of those people who have worked at Marvel and DC that, I've also, kind of seen the struggles that they've gone through, and I guess maybe it, pre-warned me a little bit that,
Sure.
And not that, both of my experiences at both Marvel and DC have both been pretty great, but, it's just because that other shoe hasn't dropped doesn't mean it won't, on the very next thing I do. So I just kind of enjoy the unfettered freedom of creator-owned where, it's you establish the rules, and so you're in charge of, the canon.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I think, like you said, it's a really interesting time when you can gather an audience and not have to worry about, writing Hero X for Marvel or DC. To get noticed, it's cool. I think it's great.
Yeah,
and I mean you're establishing a hell of a reputation. I think as a hell of a crime comic writer. That's terrific. Are there genres you haven't tackled yet that you'd like to get into?
So I hate fantasy as a rule.
Okay,
but I came up with an idea that was here's a fantasy idea I could do. So I've had it in the back of my mind that because I hate fantasy. Maybe hate is the wrong. I just have zero interest in it. But that sort of became a challenge in my head of okay, well, I have to figure out a way into this, and I think I did. So that's on the plate. I don't know. I'd kind of I'd love to do just a straight romance book that doesn't have some sort of twist or hook. Or big hook to it, like some of my books have. I'd love to just do people being people. I don't know what that story would be, but no. I mean, there's still, it's really just a time and energy concern at this point. It's not a lack of ideas. It's just a lack of when do I sleep and be a human being.
I understand that. No, and it's an interesting time now where I think all the other genres are really starting to people are looking for that. And also people are coming into comics as readers not looking for superhero stuff necessarily, but they do want to see other genres played with and things. Are you an old movie buff yourself?
Yeah. No, movies are a big inspiration for me. The genre was that's the weird thing. It's I love genre films. Genre writing, took me forever. I literally had to spend a year where I went out and I bought a bookcase and I was I'm going to fill this up with crime books and I'm going to read them all.
Cool.
Because I was very snobby. I was I want to write an important book, but some of my favorite stuff was all genre stuff. So I was what's wrong with, why are you being so highfalutin about this stuff? So I basically trained myself out of it, and I just I bought old stuff, Jim Thompson, and I bought modern stuff and Irish authors, and I just inundated myself with crime stuff to where it broke me of being snobby, not only about crime but all genres. And it was okay, that's just the framework that you work in. You could still do something that's really affecting and important to somebody, without having to write ordinary people or something.
I'm with you. No, definitely, man. How about westerns? Would you ever see yourself doing a western? I mean, like you said, Shanghai Red, sort of that period.
Yeah,
but not really a western.
Test actually is I've actually Test is Vault has taken to describing it as a biopunk Western, but like I very much, when I pitched it to them, it was very much as like, the man with no name who comes to town and like hinks everything up. So that was very much like, and I can't remember which Eastwood film it is, but it's the one where he paints the town red. Town Called Hell, I want to say, isn't it? No, that's the premise of the movie. You're right. It's like for a few dollars more, or Hang 'em High or something, but like,
at the end, that's the deal.
Yeah,
they got to paint the town red and call it Hell.
And again, like Bad Day at Black Rock was also an inspiration. Like, this dude who comes to town that is like has all these secrets, and just him being there causes them to start spilling them because he just makes them nervous.
That's cool, man. No, that's great. Hey, like I said, I really, really enjoyed High Crimes, and Trust Fall off to a great start.
Thanks.
At Aftershock. So you've got Trust Fall already out. Test comes out, you said, just this coming Wednesday, right before the 4th.
Yeah.
Very good. That's excellent. July 3rd. And then anything else down the road that you want to promote?
My other, my ongoing book at Image, Crowded, our second arc starts also on July 3rd. So.
Oh, cool. Tell me about Crowded.
It's I call it 10 Minutes in the Future, but it's a book about a world where there's a crowdfunding app for assassinations. So our main character, she wakes up one morning, she has $1 million campaign open on her, and everybody's trying to kill her. So she hires a bodyguard off of what's basically like Uber for bodyguards. And it's sort of like a dystopian buddy comedy where everybody's trying to kill her and collect this huge reward, and her bodyguard is trying to keep her alive. And they're trying to figure out awesome. Like who started the campaign and why. That's excellent, man. Very cool. Crowded. That's in the gig economy, the worst case scenario, where we're heading in the gig economy. Believe me, I'm living the gig economy. I totally understand. Right,
that's insane.
Right there with you, yeah.
Jesus. Are you? I mean, do you have a day job along with writing the comics?
No, not yet, but I'm very much like diversifying stuff and trying to find new, I just got
absolutely not.
I just got like a 3D printer, and I've been like working with that to try and figure out like stuff I can like make and sell, and it's not the same as like I've definitely thought about like signing up for Postmates or something. Like, how hard could it be, really? But
sure.
Also, I'm sure it sucks at times. It's a job, so yeah. No, I right now I've been freelancing for the last 13 years, so I feel like I've been sort of in that job, the app economy hustle before.
Oh yeah,
there were all the apps.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, that's the thing, and thank God, things have gotten easier as far as getting your word out there and everything. And, hey, congratulations. Seriously, 13 years. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
So, yeah. Absolutely, man. So, second arc of Crowded coming on July 3rd, along with the first issue of Test from Vault, excuse me. And, of course, Trust Fall from Aftershock. Excellent. And Reach Back, man, waiting for you in the Image catalog. Things like High Crimes and Shanghai Red. That's already been traded, hasn't it?
Yeah, they're both available in trade now. And the first arc of Crowded is in trade as well. So
there you go. Excellent, man. Chris Sebela, no, my pleasure. Good talking to you, and hope to see you. What conventions are you going to be at this year?
I will definitely be at Rose City, and I think I'm doing New York.
Excellent. I am reasonably certain I'll be in New York, and I'm reasonably certain I'll be in Rose City. So I hope to see you at, if not both of those.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
That's Chris Sebela. I hope you'll check out his books, and sorry again for the clippiness there. I wish I could tell you what happened. It's one of those things that, again, you're unaware of as it's recording, and then unfortunately after you've already said goodbye, you go back and you're like, oh, what the hell just happened? So it's only for a couple seconds, and again, thank you for your patience. Now, before we get to Reb Brown, and I'm really excited to share this with you, it was a lot of fun. A little request. Word Balloon is trying to build its YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers, and I put the call out last week during the second part of the Bendis tapes, and a lot of you responded, and I thank you for that. the numbers continue to increase. But I think for the next few episodes, until I at least reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Word Balloon has its own YouTube channel under the Word Balloon name. There are great clips of old interviews that I've done there over the years at conventions, great on-camera work, wonderful people like Walt Simonson and Rags Morales, and actually I even have some footage that I'm putting up in the days ahead that are interviews that I did in 2015 at C2E2 with a lot of great creators, and I look forward to sharing that with you as well. I also went and visited Tim Seeley at the 4-Star Studios here in Chicago, and we talked about when he was writing Grayson and a few other books in the Batman world that Tim was a part of. And, they're fun things, but I'm putting more video up. I want to put up new video as well, but I'd like to get to at least 1,000 subscribers. I'm thinking about doing a live streaming thing, too. And as I try to plot that, we'll see what happens in July. I'm working on a bunch of different little projects here to kind of expand Word Balloon, but I need your help. So if you would, go to YouTube, check out the Word Balloon channel, and if you would, please subscribe and like if you watch any of the videos. The podcast is there as well. All the episodes, not only the Word Balloon podcast, but also Art and Franco's Oh Yeah podcast is posted up there. My boxing show, the Big Bout podcast. So if you would please subscribe to the Word Balloon channel at YouTube. Okay, without further ado, let's get into our conversation with Reb Brown. Can't believe I'm saying this because, again, I'm a longtime Reb Brown fan. Going back to the first time I saw him in the 70s, a TV movie he made with Stockard Channing. Very funny comedy called The Girl Most Likely. It's kind of a Carrie revenge story, but again, it plays as a comedy where she's a fat, ugly girl who is ridiculed by her college classmates and everybody in her life, and then she gets into a terrible car accident and has reconstructive plastic surgery and suddenly becomes a beautiful woman. Stockard Channing played the lead, and among the people that ridiculed her was college quarterback Reb Brown. Man, the guy just kept going. He made those great Captain America movies in the 70s. Then he also did Uncommon Valor with Gene Hackman and Death of a Soldier with James Coburn. We talk a lot about all this with Reb Brown, and I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. Again, just a little bit of clippiness at the very end, but it's brief and fast, and you get the gist of what he's saying. Reb is going to be at Terrificon first weekend in August out at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. That's why we're doing the conversation. And Reb will be there. And if you miss it, he just wanted to let everybody know that he's going to have great things for people to get autographed pictures with him. He also has the original Captain America shield. I should say a replica of the Captain America shield, but a great thing for photo ops. And don't worry, if you don't have enough cash, he's got PayPal. He wanted us to make sure that everybody knew that he had PayPal. That's where the clippiness happens. But I think you'll enjoy this conversation with Reb Brown, Captain America from the 70s, now on Word Balloon. Reb Brown, welcome to Word Balloon. Dude, seriously, you were quite the specimen, and I really wanted to talk to you about your Captain America movies. Was really excited when they made them, and dude, you're seriously, you are a quintessential Steve Rogers. Absolutely, man.
Yes, as far as the poster was concerned back then, I was supposed to be 6'3", 220 pounds, and I was right around 6'3" and 230, so it worked out pretty well.
That's great, man. Now, I'm sure you've had a million of us comic book fans tell you, or at least ask. I mean, you're making a made-for-TV movie, and it's so funny that you made two of Captain America, and I enjoyed both of them. The first one very much felt like a $6 Million Man movie, and I mean that in the best way.
Exactly, that's it. Same guy that did the music for $6 Million. In fact, the producer was Aaron Balter, and he was the one. He did $6 Million Man, so we had the same kind of music on that thing.
Well, the fight choreography, I mean, the way the shots were laid out, it felt a lot like that. And then, as I was starting to get to, the first Cap costume, kind of more Evel Knievel than what we were, as comic book fans, were expecting. Were you a Captain America reader as a young man?
Yeah, I used to enjoy it as a kid. But the thing is with that costume, they had some guy come in and he thought he could do better than the original. But I don't think Stan Lee appreciated it, because you saw at the end of that first one, I came out in new ones.
Yeah, am I right? Am I remembering clearly? Because I remember seeing the movie the first time, and it was kind of left up in the air of, the spy master asks you, will you continue with more missions? And you're like, no, Simon, I got to think about it. And then, because it seems to me when I watch it now, because of the second film, that they had you redub kind of that last bit of dialogue, and then, like you say, you come out on the bike. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, exactly right.
Well, seriously, man, it was great. I think it was brilliant made-for-TV logic to have an original Captain America fighting in World War II. You're his son. The soldier formula might work on your character, given the same kind of DNA and everything. No, dude, I loved it. I thought it was great. And then, seriously, come out when we knew that another movie was coming, it was like, oh, fantastic, man. I'm sorry it didn't get made into a series.
The thing is, it happened with that is that CBS actually wanted to buy 6 episodes, okay?
Uh-huh.
And what happened is that Universal lost the rights to it. Now, at the time, the Hulk was paying about $2,500 an episode, okay?
Uh-huh.
For the licensing fee.
Sure.
They wanted $50,000 an episode. I'd have been riding a motorcycle around the living room.
Yeah, really, that might cut into the budget a little bit. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Instead of a van, I'd have a wooden horse.
They're a lot of fun. Christopher Lee, your bad guy for the second movie. That's pretty cool.
Oh man, he was a wonderful guy, and I worked with him in Howling too. And he just,
right.
He spoke 8 languages.
Wow. I've heard, I've certainly seen biographies and heard him in documentaries. Yeah, pretty intelligent dude. He was a real agent during World War II, was in British intelligence.
Yes, he was.
And everything. Pretty cool, man.
Yes, he was. When we filmed Howling 2 over in Czechoslovakia, we actually went to a spot where he helped the guys that had the raid on Heydrich, this General Heydrich. It was in the SS.
Yeah.
And Christopher Lee, you never saw him get really emotional, And we were in this church where it actually took place, where these guys were hammered and they got him, and he teared up on me, and I'll never forget that, because this is one strong man. It was really an incredible experience.
That's amazing, man. That's really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, honestly, Space Mutiny, you work with Cameron Mitchell and John Philip Law. Those guys are.
That's with my wife too.
Indeed,
and my wife too.
I read that, and that really surprised me. That's fantastic, man. Yeah, Cassie Cameron, her stage name, and that's great. Are you guys still together?
It was, Sissy Cameron is her name. Yeah,
that's
and we've been together 39 years, and our anniversary will be the 40th will be in September.
Hey, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
That's I'm really, a lucky man to have her. I'll tell you, I'm a lucky man to have my wife, Sissy. Believe me, I really am.
All right, let's talk a minute about Space Mutiny. Honestly, man, that's a lot of fun, and I think it's great, and I'm assuming this might be the reaction when people see you and bring up Space Mutiny. I think it's great that culture has turned around, and I don't know what the initial response was to Space Mutiny, but it's a lot of fun, and I think it's fun in the best ways of having a limited budget and solving problems, whether it's special effects or costumes, everything.
Yeah, and then they end up putting Galactica stuff in it and having those weird dancers in there. I mean, the original, the real director that did the film, he wasn't allowed to complete it. The guy David Winter came in and changed everything around. And I'll tell you, running around in those go-karts was such a trip.
Well,
and then you saw the point in there where the one woman was killed, and then she's back at her desk.
Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. I mean, honestly,
I had so many nicknames in that. Everybody just to get a kick out of it. It's on. Let's see. Yeah, it's on Blu-ray.
Oh, that's excellent, man. I remember seeing it too on Mystery Science Theater, and I imagine going to autograph shows and conventions and stuff. I don't know. Have you run into any of the Mystery Science Theater guys?
Yeah, I just scowled at them.
Did you really? Oh,
I just sit there and I give them this look like, okay, guys. Did you know that last summer they were taking that thing around the United States? They were having capacity crowds, like 800 people at the theater showing that thing, and I never got any invitation from them at all or any So basically, it's a sore spot with me right now.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear. Seriously, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I certainly read the article from a few years ago when they made the first Chris Evans Captain America movie. You were kind of bummed that you couldn't make a cameo. It doesn't make sense to me, honestly. As you point out, Ferrigno got to do it in the Hulk. And hey, man, seriously, I'm from that generation. You were our first Captain America.
Well, yeah. The thing is, if I would have been in it, he would have looked like my little brother. You know?
But you could have been an executive and a librarian. I mean, a security guard, the way Lou and Stan Lee were in the Hulk movie and stuff.
I could have been sitting there with glasses, looking very intelligent. I'd have to work at it, but I do it.
You're an actor. You could do it. Absolutely, man. That's awesome.
Listen, I wanted to tell you that I'm bringing various photos to the show.
Excellent.
And I'm going to bring a copy of my shield. And I'll have that so people can take pictures with me, and I'm going to have PayPal there. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm going to have I have a poster of Cage. I have a poster of Death of the Soldier that I'm going to bring. I got some interesting stuff to bring, so I'm looking forward to it. I hear this is a class act. I mean, my representative Steve Wolf told me that it's a great event at a great location, and it's classy, and I'm looking forward to it.
I think you're going to have a good time, man, honestly, and I know a lot of us fans are going to be really excited to see you, and that's excellent, man. Yes, you mentioned your fine film with it was Ferrigno, right, with Cage and Cage too.
Yeah,
excellent. And and then the Soldier movie you mentioned too. That was like kind of a big honor for you. I see Australia really thought highly of the film, and and you were
nominated for Best Actor.
That's fantastic.
There's a guy on Facebook that he said he's going to see me at the show, and he wants me to do my favorite scene from there. Have you ever seen it?
I have not seen it. I was rewatching Uncommon Valor and enjoyed you in that with Hackman and everybody. But tell me about Death of a Soldier, yeah.
Yeah, well, Death of a Soldier was one that I got, and that was the same director from Howling 2. And Death of a Soldier was a true story, okay? And I was nominated in Australia for Best Actor for it. But there's a scene in the movie, and they showed it on Amazon for a period of time. It was on, and there's a scene in the movie where I sing in a high voice, okay? So this guy wants me to sing in a high voice, it's a lovely day tomorrow. That was the best thing I've ever done. That was the best movie I was ever in, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the ability to do that. Uncommon Valor, as far as I'm concerned, that crew that we had on there were fantastic people. And Gene Hackman was a class act. All the guys on there were really nice. I really enjoyed working with them a lot. And, and Tex Cobb was,
yes,
he's a character.
Oh, I bet, man. Oh, I'm a big boxing fan, so I've followed both of Tex's careers, both on screen and in the ring. Absolutely, man. Jeez. That's hilarious. And Death of a Soldier, James Coburn in that movie. That's amazing.
Yeah, he was. In fact, my wife was in a movie with him, too. And James Coburn is like the original James Bond, okay? He's like, he was so classy and cool. And, he was going to teach me how to smoke a cigar, like Clint Eastwood would, I got a cough. I couldn't do it. Never learned.
I want to mention another hidden gem that's on Amazon Prime that you're in. Fast Break, the basketball movie with Capt. I love that movie, man. I saw that in the theater back in the 70s. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, that was what happened on that. You see, we auditioned over at UCLA, and we went in there, and they had other actors in there. Well, I played basketball in high school. I was, the most valuable player on the varsity team as a senior. Cool. Okay, cool. So, but I got in there, and man, I was the bull. I banged people around. And I remember that one of the people from UCLA says, "You know what? I think you're the right guy."
That's cool. Was Kaplan a guy?
Oh yeah, he was a cool guy. He was a cool guy. He was really nice, and I was Sylvester in that one also, and and Mike Warren. I'd done some stuff with before too. All these people were really wonderful people. It was a pleasure working with them. It really was. I really enjoyed it.
I bet. So when you go to shows, is it a mix of, horror fans because of things like Howling and, or is it usually Captain America? What are they going to want to talk to you about?
It's a potpourri of people that come. I mean, it's all kinds of things. One of the things that I thoroughly enjoy with the Captain America thing is having these people come up to me and say, I remember watching you as a kid, and they've got children of their own, okay? And it's just... And I get to take a picture with them or whatever, and it really touches me. It makes me feel good inside that I'm still able to do that. It really does. But all kinds of people are Space Mutiny. They come up, I'd like one of those pictures. I said, well, I'll think about it.
Dude, I got to tell you, I think it's a fun movie. And again, I think, like I said, it swung around, and people will appreciate it for its, wrinkles, if you awards. I mean, again, Jesus, man, you work with Cameron Mitchell. I'm a big Cameron Mitchell fan. He's made a lot of great movies. And John Philip Long, good Lord. Diabolique and Barbara.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I liked him. He just, they called him, what was it, Santa Claus, I think was what the nickname they gave him.
Cameron Mitchell.
That's what they did. Yeah, they did just all kinds of stuff, and I'm really looking forward to coming to the show because I've met people on Facebook, and then the other fans that will come to meet me. I'm really excited about it. I just think that it's a real opportunity. I've never been to Connecticut before, and from what I understand, it seems like it's a location, and it's just really done well. And Mitch Halleck is just he does a really great job.
Mitch is a great guy. Terrificon is an excellent convention, and I think you'll have a great time. And what a great opportunity, man, to come to Terrificon and get your picture with Reb Brown with Captain America Shield, or if you're a fan of Death of a Soldier, or Cage, or that's great.
Well, here's one for you.
Go for it.
Three's Company. Happy Days. Chips.
Miami Vice.
Miami.
Pretty cool, man.
Like I say, I got a potpourri of stuff there. So if you can't find it there, then you're really not looking.
So Reb, are you available? Like, are you trying? I mean, I know, I don't even know. Are you? Because it seems like your last credit was 2012. Are you interested in doing anything these days as far as camera stuff?
I would love to. It's just a matter of, the thing is getting the opportunity, and the business has changed quite a bit. It's just really different. I mean, I did a show with Lou recently, and we were talking about it, and by the way, he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Reb, you're getting old." I said, "You look in the mirror." And I mean, he's a kick. He's a good guy. We did those 2 Cage movies together, but I mean, it's changed. I'd love to do a film again. I'd love to do something, and get an opportunity like that and have fun doing it because I loved it. I did. I really enjoyed working as an actor, and it was like the closest thing that I ever had to athletics. Because you knew when you quickly scored a touchdown. I mean, you could feel it, and it was a great feeling. It really was.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, your films were fantastic. I think you were a hell of an action actor, and I would like to see some smart filmmaker, throw you the kind of bone that the guys like Tarantino managed to do for older actors and stuff, and say, hey, no, these guys still have something to contribute, man.
Well, you know what? I mean, that Expendables. I mean, why wasn't I in that? I couldn't understand. I mean, my God, it's not like I haven't, showed my abilities, so to speak.
I understand. Well,
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask. I mean, that's kind of physical. Are you up to? I mean, again, no. Hey, man, I'm sure you could punch me in the gut and hurt me, but
I'm still in pretty damn good shape, to be honest about it. I weigh 230 pounds. I mean,
damn.
And I still work out constantly. I mean, if I didn't, I'd probably go south and plunder a village.
Well, that's great to hear. And, as people get older and stuff, I think it's smart to exercise. So I'm glad to hear that. And hell, you were always a specimen, man. I'm expecting no less when I see you in August at Terrificon, definitely. And, I mean, so really, thank you for coming on. If you had more time, in the future and stuff, would love to talk to you more about some of these other movies. And, just congratulations, honestly, man. A great career. And again, I'm glad you're out there on the circuit and you let all of us that have enjoyed your work for decades come up and say hello and shake your hand, get a picture, and tell you how great you are.
Well, you know what? It was a pleasure talking with you, and I'm really, really looking forward to Terrificon. I really am. I think it'll be great, and I'll have a great time. Come out and see me, guys.
Reb Brown, a pleasure to talk to you, man. A fine Captain America and a great action star, and looking forward to seeing you at Terrificon. Thanks for your time.
God bless you. All the best to you.
There you go, Reb Brown. He will be at Terrificon in August. I hope you'll join us there at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut for that weekend. I had a blast last year. Did a ton of panels. I'll be doing more panels this year. Very excited. Great people. You heard the commercial at the beginning of the show. Unbelievable guests, including Reb Brown. I'll tell you, man, it's going to be a pleasure meeting him in person. I can't wait. And all the other old friends and new people that I've been introduced to that will be at Terrificon. More Terrificon guests coming before the show. We want to help Mitch promote the show. and that affords me the opportunity to talk to some of the great guests that are going to be at Terrificon. So there you go. And also a little surprise announcement here at the end of Word Balloon. Looks like I'm going to be in Rose City in Portland in September. So from one coast to the other, I'll be in the East Coast in August, and then the West Coast in September, probably New York again in October. So that's the convention schedule as I continue to heal. And the doctors kind of, I'll tell you, man, it looked like I wasn't going to do any conventions until next year. And I'm like, a year? Really? I'm going to have to wait that long? But thank God, the healing is moving a lot faster than anyone expected, including the doctors. They're thrilled, and as things continue to progress and improve, they have greenlit me for my travels to Connecticut for Mohegan Sun, and Rose City for Portland in September, and then, of course, October's New York Comic Con. So can't wait to see you and share more stories with you and great content that I hope to get at some of these conventions in the months ahead here at Word Balloon. But hell, we got July to get through, and man, good docket of guests. I can't believe some of the people that are going to be showing up in July that I can share with you on Word Balloon. I hope you enjoyed today's show. It was brought to you by Aftershock Comics. Of course, Aftershock is putting out some incredible books, including Trustfall from Chris Sebela, our guest today. Also, some other upcoming books from Aftershock. Joe Pruitt's horror anthology, Shock. Also, Cullen Bunn has a new book, Knights Temporal. That's pretty exciting. Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete. We've got Dark Red from Tim Seeley, Dark Art from Cullen Bunn, Baby Teeth from Donny Cates, Animosity from Marguerite Bennett. So many great Garth Ennis books like Jimmy's Bastards and A Walk Through Hell. Great titles. Again, if you're missing the Vertigo vibe, they've got it going on at Aftershock Comics. Don't take my word for it. Check out full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond books on these diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks again for listening. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners, for your attention and support. And more great Word Balloon coming up later this week. It's 4th of July week. That's why we got the patriotic Rep Brown, Captain America, on. But more great conversations to share with you in the days ahead. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions. Copyright 2019.